Welcome to economics class again. Today we are going to see the basic tools that are employed to analyze the economic behavior at an individual level, that is studying a person like me and you, or as the economic level as a whole. For example, a country has an economy and another country also has an economy. So we are going to see which tools are used to analyze the behavior, interactions, processes, and activities involved in between individuals, group of individuals, and countries. Among the tools that we are used or that we are using to analyze the behavior of individuals, as I said, is a table. So a table, we mean it is the representation of data in rows and columns. For example, we can have a data concerning how an individual wants to spend his income on his needs and wants. Otherwise, we know as scale of preference. So the scale of preference is in form of table. For example, it can be drawn like this. This one is the item, the first column, and this one is the amount or the price. So we consider it in naira. So for example, an individual has a wide range of needs. For example, the person needs to buy a wristwatch. For example, at 2,000 naira. Then the same person needs to buy a phone at 50,000. He also needs to buy a motorcycle at 500,000 naira. And maybe the person needs to pay for his rent. Maybe the person doesn't have enough money to buy the house. So the rent may amount to 200,000 naira per year. The same person needs to buy food. So the food may cost him 50,000. And he needs to pay for his children's fees. So we call it the school fees for the children, maybe 40,000. So when we have the representation of data in this form, then we call it a table. As we can see here, we have two columns. Column 1 containing the items, the needs of an individual person, and column 2 contains the amount or the price of these needs. Now, a table can be in form of many columns, and it can be in many rows depending on the nature of the data available. So what is the essence of constructing a table? The essence of constructing a table is to make the data look neat, also to make it very easy to understand. Anybody that is confronted with a text may be difficult for him to understand what the text is all about. But when the data is arranged in form of a table, then it will be easy for anyone to understand it. For example, as we have this kind of arrangement, anybody that sees it can easily understand what are on the table. For example, suppose the individual person has a data, the breakdown of the data like this: wristwatch at 2,000 naira, phone at 50,000 naira. So if somebody sees this breakdown of the data, will find it difficult to understand. Maybe the person will even be asking himself, oh, what does this information mean? Anybody that sees this will say, oh, wristwatch at 2008. Does it mean wristwatch is going to be how many? Or does it mean to have 2,000 wristwatch, or to have 50,000 phones, or to have 500,000 motorcycles? So the person will find it difficult to understand. But if this is arranged in form of a table, then it will give the person a, a quick understanding about what the data is all about. Now, we have seen how an individual can engage in arranging his own information in a tabular form for easy and quick understanding of the data. Now, if a firm or a business interacts or is making people to interact so that they will have the production of a good or service, then the firm will be confronted with taking record. So the record will involve information about how the production is taking place. That is how the individuals or the workers are used alongside other equipment to produce goods and services. So the firm will be keeping record about this economic activity. Now, as I told you, we have seen the process involve an individual outlining his own needs and the prices of these needs. Now, in this example, we are going to see how a firm in a week employs 7 workers and has from 6 units of output to 28 level of output. But when we are confronted with this raw data, it will be difficult for us to understand. If you are asked to find out when 5 workers were employed, what is the level of output? So it will be difficult for you because you'll be tracing line by line. You can say 1 worker, this is not the 1, 2 workers, 7, 3 workers, no, 4 workers, then you come to this one because you are asked to find when the 5 workers were employed. The level of output was 35 units of output. But if this information is arranged in a tabular form, then it will give us a very quick understanding about the information that we have here. So let us try to draw the table and see how we can arrange the data in that table. For example, in the first column, we have workers. Otherwise known as labor. In the second column, we have total product. OTP. So what we mean by total product is the overall product produced at the end of any production process. For example, if the production takes place only today, then we said, what do we have at the end? So this is our total product while employing all the factors of production. In the next column, we have average product. AP. So what we mean by average product is the output per unit of input. For example, here we have workers. So how much each worker produced at the end of the production process, that is the average product. For example, when 1 worker was employed, the total product was 6. So we have 6 units of output here. So the average product will be 6 because 1 worker produced 6 units of output. So we have average product to be 6. When you divide this by this, you have 6 units of output. Now, in the second day, 2 workers another worker was employed. That means plus the first one that was employed in the first day. So we have 14 units of output in the second day. 14 unit of output. So when we divide this by this, we have 7 units of output. That means each worker contributed 7 units of output in that production process. And in the third day, another worker was added, so they become 3 now. The total product was 27, as you can see from the information. So when we divide this by this, we have 9 units of output. Then another worker was added. Then we have 4 workers. And the total product, as you can see here, 4 workers, we have 40 total product. So our total product here is 40 unit of output. So when we divide this by this, we have 10 unit of output as our average product. Now, another worker was added, so they become 5 now. And the total product was 35. And the average product was 7 unit of output. Then another worker was added. Then we have 30 unit of output, and we have 5 unit of average product. And lastly, we have the final worker that was added. So they become 7 now. And at the end, the firm gets 28 output level, and it has 4 average products. Now, this is a firm. So this is a firm level of output in that entire week. Now, if you compare the two data that we have, the raw data and the organized data, we can understand that this one that is tabulated is more arranged, is more easy to understand, more accessible. So whenever you see this, you understand that yes, it is about a firm employing 1 to 7 workers, and this is the total product, and this is the average product. But unlike this one, as I told you, if you were asked to find out when 5 workers was added or was employed, how many total product was derived from the process. But if you ask to check the table, you can easily say this is when the 5 workers was employed and the total product was 35 units of output. And if you ask at the same time, what is the average product, the product per unit of input, then you say 7 unit of output was produced. Okay, as we have seen, there is a guide in constructing a table. That means there are things that will guide us to construct a table properly. Number one thing is a table should have clear heading or title. So any table that is constructed is supposed to have a heading. That means what is it all about? If it is about a firm, then you write a firm production process. So this is a title, an example of a title of a table. Then it can be a scale of preference. This is another title. So it depends on the nature and the purpose of the data that will determine the title of that table. So any table that is going to be constructed is supposed to have a title. Otherwise, it will confuse the reader about the information contained in the table. Or even the reader may even be guessing, oh, what is this table all about? The next thing, apart from the title, is the data contained in that table supposed to be clear and easy or easily understood. In the table should be easy to understand. This is another guide. So since we are dealing with the data or we are dealing with the information, about an individual, a process, or an activity, then that data is supposed to be easy to understand. So anybody that is viewing it or anybody that is reading it will find it easy to understand. So a table shouldn't contain sometimes symbols or signs or something that will be difficult to interpret. Or even if there is a symbol, then it's supposed to have a key or a legend that will explain this symbol so that anybody that is reading about the data will find it easy to understand. The next thing found in a guide of constructing a table is the source of the data should be stated. That means where the information was derived from. Is the information derived from an authority, like an agency or a government parastatal or a department, or is it derived from an individual? So mostly the data that we are dealing with usually come from an authority. So we state, for example, if we get a data from Central Bank of Nigeria, then we write source. For example, we write source, Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. So this will inform the reader where the information was derived. If the data is uphead, that means it is hypothesized, then it doesn't need any source. The next thing is the table should be numbered. That means if it involves more than one table. So if you are dealing with many information and you don't want to confuse the reader, so you write table 1, table 1. That means the reader should understand that this table belongs to the first information that you have. So when you move to construct another table, then you write table 2. That means this table does not belong to the first one. And this table has nothing to do with the first information that you stated already. So this guide is only about having vast amount of information. Now, we have another form of table, which is called frequency table or frequency distribution. This is another representation of data in rows and columns with an input or variables repeating themselves. So when you are dealing with the data that contains information or individual item of the observation repeating themselves, then you know that you are dealing with the frequency distribution or table. Suppose we have an information about the conduct of economics tests on 20 students, and this is the result that we have derived from the activity. Now, the first student that was recorded scored 1. The second one scored 5. The third one scored 6. The fourth one scored 5. Another one scored 5, up to the last one that scored 2. So there are some variables, as you can see from here, that repeat themselves. For example, 5. 5 appears almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 appears 5 times here, and 2 appears 2 times, and 0 appeared 2 times, and 1 appeared 2 times, or 3 times, I mean. So when you have raw data here, and you present it the way it is, so it will confuse any reader. But if you organize it in a tabular form, then it will give a clear picture about the data. Okay, as we see, we construct a table that contains 3 columns. Column 1 is representing the scores, represented by X. Column 2 contains frequency, number of the appearance of each item of the observation, and third column has to do with the tally. Tally is about the strokes of this stroke, for example, like this, meaning the number of appearance of the item of the observation. So this is our observation. Now, we begin with the lowest one. We have 0. So how many zeros do we have? 0 appears 2 times. That means 2 students scored 0. So it has 2 strokes. The next one is 1. How many times 1 appears? 1, 2, 3. So 1 has 3 frequencies. So it has 3 strokes. The next one is 2. The next item is 2. So 2 appears only twice. So it has 2 frequency and has 2 strokes. The next item is 4. 4 appears only 2 times. So 4 has 2 frequencies with 2 strokes. And the next one is 5. So 5 appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. So the frequency of 5 here is 5 and 5 strokes. So when you have 5 strokes, as you draw the fourth one, then you cross the last one, making 5. The next item is 6. So 6 appears 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. So it has 4 strokes. And the last item is 8. 8 appears 2 times. So it has 2 strokes. So we now take the summation of the frequency. 2 plus 3, 5. 5 plus 2, 7. 7 plus 2, 9. 9 plus 5, 14. 14 plus 4, 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. So this means that when you count the frequency and you get the total, then you count the number of the items of the observation. If it is equal to the frequency, then the frequency is correct. So let us count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So our frequency here is correct. So when you look at the raw data and this organized data, which one gives you a clear picture about the observation? I'm sure that in your mind, you know that this one gives you a clear picture about the observation. Having constructed a frequency table, I know that in your mind, you will be having 1 or 2 ideas about how to construct a frequency table. Now, this frequency table has many advantages, among which is it helps prepare us for further statistical calculations. So as we go deep in economics, we will be confronted with some statistics here and there. So that frequency table will help us, especially how to write frequency. So it will not be for the first time as we are going to do some statistical calculations. When we see frequency, we know what it means. So that is one importance of frequency table. The next importance of a frequency table is it helps avoid error, which leads to inaccurate generalization of the findings. When you are confronted with an observation or a distribution, especially if it is bulky, but it is not organized in any form, so it will give us error if we are trying to access some items of the observation. But if we organize it, we will know that which is the lowest item, which is the highest item. And from there, we can be able to generalize based on the findings, whether the observation is correct, is accurate or not. But without engaging in constructing a frequency table, we cannot do that. The next importance, it shows the performance of each item of an observation. So we have information about an activity or a process, and we organize it. From there, we can compare between or among the items, which one is better than the other, or which one is highest, or which one is lowest. So from there, we can understand that an item, so this item has more performance than another. But without constructing such a table, it will be difficult for us to make such observation. The next thing is it tries to show relationship among variables. When we say a variable, we mean any quantity that can take different values. As we have seen in the case of economics tests, some students scored 0, while some scored 5, some scored 8. So from there, we can know which item or which variable has a relation with the other. So this can only be found in constructing a frequency table.